do, just for my purposes, we'll do a test. And let's see how it goes. So here we go, behind the scenes. This is for real. So just a mic check, just in case. Ask some questions like this.
And here's that me answering them like this.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk like normally.
Are you sure I don't have to be like this?
All right, let's see how that goes. Oh my god. So just a mic check, just in case. Ask questions like this.
And here's that me answering them like this.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk like normally.
Are you sure I don't have to be like this?
All right, fun to hear yourself, right?
Ooh.
All right. Delete the recording. We'll get things set up, and who knows? Could be making history. Well, we are making history, but we'll see what kind of history. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Kurzology. So this podcast is all about connection. We're going to be talking to friends, co-workers, people that we've just kind of come to through the journey of life. We'll have some fun behind the scenes videos and footage and interactions. You'll be able to ask questions, submit guest ideas, and as we do this and publish it as we do, which will probably be weekly, you'll have an opportunity. We'll throw some polls sometimes in there and just kind of see and how everybody's doing. The whole idea is connection. The whole idea is to tell your tales. Tales will be your tests, your adventures, your lessons, your entertainments, and your successes. All of that is defined by the guests that we're going to have. All of that is going to be defined by good, bad, or indifferent. We all have the hiccups. We all have the obstacles. And we all have fun things to share, which could help somebody in the long run. So that's the whole goal, is that connection. The people connection. The people that we talk to could have successful businesses, could done things on their own, just have advice for being maybe up in years, or even just being brand new to whatever it is. Today we decided to have, make it easy. We have a lot of friends that we do miss from leaving Orlando and coming up here to North Georgia and spending our time. And so we kind of wanted to do this first episode together and make sure everybody gets to see and hear, whether you're watching or listening to this, however you listen and watch. So Danelle, my wife of almost 19 years, soon to be 19 years in September, is here. However, we've been together for 24 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I know.
So I decided to kind of do the test run with her, see how things go, and see what else we can come up with. So I did do everything official. She is an official guest. She's signed the waivers. She's here ready to go. She knows kind of what it is. And so welcome.
Thank you. Honored to be your first guest.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I think the idea of connection and the idea of bringing people into maybe a different light. We have a lot of the same friends, but we have a lot of different friends where maybe they are, in different industries, entertainment or retail, or have their own entrepreneurship of some sorts. So I just like the idea of not asking the same questions that everybody asks of how did you get here and what do you like about life and what's your favorite movie? We had the discussion just earlier with some friends talking about movies, and they asked us very specifically why we would want to meet somebody. So not our favorite actor, not our favorite singer, and it really got into some pretty good conversation, I think.
Yeah, it did.
So, but I mean, you got the mic. I mean, what do you want to say to anybody that you may attempt to get to listen?
Oh, I'm not sure. Just hi. I'm excited to be here and get the opportunity to share a little bit about who I am and what got us to where we are, and hopefully it'll inspire others to do the same. I feel like sometimes we get in the rut of our normal daily tasks and everything, and people don't get to really know each other as much as they possibly could. And maybe this will enlighten people of figuring out, oh, what are those stories behind why they're the way they are, or simply, oh, I didn't know they like this. Maybe that's a connection that you have with us, or connection with any of future guests that come on. And maybe you learn something. I know I'm excited to learn from whomever happens to come on, because I'm sure, especially with the tests and how you have it set up, to see what lessons they've learned. So it'll be cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited, and hopefully we can reach out to some friends and you get a chance to know them as much as we know and love them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and it is cool. It's going to be such a chill type of thing too, casual. There may be opportunities, there will be opportunities, we already have some lined up, where it'll be on location or in different areas and that sort of stuff. We are able to go mobile, so if I can travel someplace, or if I'm going to visit friends or family somewhere, and people are out in North Carolina or back home in Chicago, shout out to hometown Chicago, Paul, everybody in Woodstock there in McHenry County. And everybody back in Orange County and in Orlando as well. To visit people and be able to have that, we are 100% mobile. So that's going to be fun. And it is things like, for example, a lot of people have asked us in the past, like, oh my gosh, and I'm proud of it. So I know it's the second time I've said it now, but 19 years, we're coming up on 19 years in September. It hasn't all been easy. And those that can watch this video can see that she's keeping me honest, and will vocally as well. But I think the biggest trick that most people either kind of politely ask us, like, how do you do it, or what are our secrets, or we don't really have secrets. But the biggest thing I think that we always, my answer always is from the start, we've always had journals, right? So literally diaries, journals, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes it's pieces of paper. And we have, I don't even remember how many we've gone through now. But I mean, they're actual books, But we use those. Sometimes, in all honesty, it's, can you please go get milk? Or Ezio's out of food, or whatever. Or simply, thank you for vacuuming or making dinner or whatever. But most of the time, it's little notes. It's literally, and I don't want to keep using that word, but it is the small messages, the small texts. But I think there's something to be said for the handwritten.
Yes.
Getting a text, the random "I love you" text at work, or on your your watches or whatever. We're not sponsored by anybody, so which I leave names out. But when you get things, on your phone, not to belittle them,
they're still great.
Important.
Yeah, they're still great. But something about actually taking the time to find pen and paper and write it, which is not necessarily something that is readily available all the time. So actually taking that moment to grab it and think of what you're going to say, and not actually just use emojis that are just a press on a button on your phone or anything like that. So just something, it's a little different. So
and so I think that's been the secret. I mean, that's a long-winded way, which is why I have a podcast, because I talk a lot, so it's perfect. But it's a long-winded way to say communication, and being honest. We have left notes for each other where it's like, I'm still mad at you, and I don't like what happened last night, or the dreaded "let's talk when I get home" type of thing. But then we do reach in and talk and make sure that we get to where we need to be. We're both not afraid to go to bed mad. I mean, that's like the unwritten rule, like, don't do that. I understand it. However, I think we have been more successful letting ourselves go to bed upset or disappointed or something, to sleep on it. You may not get the best of sleep, but the next day you can continue it, because I think a lot of my experiences have been arguments or disagreements end quick, but they're not resolved. Like you want it, I'm tired of, saying this, I'm tired of yelling, I'm tired of, which we don't yell, by the way. And you end it, I think, and not you, but like the ones I've had in my past just end so quick where it's not resolved.
It's not truly resolved.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. And also, usually they end up happening at night, where you're tired and and
Yeah.
you're not really thinking clearly. There's a lot of extra emotions involved in it. So sometimes sleeping on it is helpful. I think the one thing is, even if we are mad at each other, though, we still go to bed with saying I love you to each other. So
Yeah.
even if we're frustrated and ticked off and don't want to talk to each other at all, that's one thing that we do share, though, is I still say I love you before I go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's knowing that that's still a thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
And it is.
Gonna sleep on it.
It's that communication, you know. Again, that's
Right.
the bottom line of notes and stuff, and then talking it out, and then we go silent when we get upset with each other. We don't yell or anything like that. But going back to the whole technology is great. You can get an instant text, "I love you," or "Hey, you might need this," or whatever. But
which is still wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think that the handwritten thing, like you said, is you took more time to write it. It may take you 5 minutes to find the pen and paper, but like nowadays. But like, for example, we have a dear friend of ours, Julie, back in the high school days, and we still keep in touch with her. But she is the absolute best, and it's her thing. So I'm not upset with myself on how I communicate with her.
Amazing.
But it is her thing to send snail mail, and it is such a joy. We just got something 3 days ago from her. Random. I mean, it's not gonna say it again. But it's cards with a handwritten note, and it could just be like, "Hey, I miss you guys," or "Hey, I heard you're going through some rough times," or "Hey, you just moved. Congratulations. Here's whatever." So, and there's something to be said about that. The texts and emails that we get are amazing. But it's that time, it's that communication. It's when you give I just told this to our friends last night, where we have another dear friend who's a parent of a friend of ours who may be on the show in a couple episodes. But her dad gave the advice or mentioned, "Hey, your life is made up of free time. You are 100. Your whole day is 24 hours of free time every day." And it's hard to understand because you're like, "Well, no, I work, I sleep." Well, but it's still free time. You choose, because there are things you need to do. You need to sleep. We unfortunately need money in order to live. So you need to have a job or an income. So there are things you have to do, but you're valuing that time to say, "Hey, I'm worth $20 an hour to go to this place to do this work. I value my sleep, so I'm going to sleep 10 hours a day and miss out on whatever else I could do because that's what I value right now." So it's the value of a quick email or maybe even a longer text versus taking out the pen and paper and getting your thoughts together, writing it down, making sure you're drawing little things. Our friend Julie throws glitter everywhere in the envelope. So
all the confetti, I love it
yeah,
so much.
So and that's what I want to get with this, this podcast, is to kind of bring back that connection with people. We know each other, but not everything, and things change, tastes change,
Yeah, it's true.
So
we're still learning about each other.
But yeah, what about like for you? What is some of the stuff, and we'll get to T.A.L.E.S. So again, T.A.L.E.S is going to be the big thing. T-A-L-E-S, not like puppy dog tails, but tales as in stories, broken down into tests, adventures, lessons, entertainment, and successes. So, what do you think with communication and people that we've come across here now being in Georgia? What's kind of one of the things that stick out with you with this new adventure? We'll get into the tales for you in a second, but like, what's kind of a cool thing in the 4 months you've been here? 5 months now, I think.
With the people that we've met here,
or just anything here, like in a new being out of the chapter that you were for 16 years, and being here, like what's some of the takeaways that you?
So it's been a challenge in some ways. However, as far as how close and what ready access we have to all sorts of different nature and being able to walk through and to different places that we wouldn't be able to in Florida, it has been incredible. So many places to go to just zen and chill for a little bit and enjoy what's out there. It's just been really, really cool. It's hard because growing up, we've had that community that was very much like, hey, come to this festival, or let's go to this farmer's market. And I was really concerned that we weren't going to have that here. And I've noticed that there is that community here, which is
probably more, in my opinion.
Yeah, really, really cool. Our neighbors are just incredible, and I've turned into some good friends already, which is awesome. So it's been neat. Even though there's been tons of challenges, there's been some really cool and awesome moments as well. Nature being one of the biggest ones for me.
Yeah.
To have a chance to see a lot more over here.
And that goes with, you know, being together for so long. We've gone through, you know, we're born, raised Chicago. Danelle was born in Houston,
Yes,
but her majority of her growing up was in Northern Illinois. So we go from Chicago to Orlando to Atlanta now, and it's each thing is different and good in its own way. So it's you don't give up the 20 plus years that we had in Chicago before we moved. And then had 16 years in Florida. Each thing we added on more friends, we added on more things that we liked, we found different things, and now here, and just starting out a couple months, I've been here since September. Danelle and Ezio, who's floating around, maybe he'll make it a video appearance, but I've been here since September, they've been here since February, and we've now found, you know, like Danelle said, you know, friends and community. And we missed that, I think, in Orlando.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's not a knock. It's not saying Orlando doesn't have any communities.
No,
I just think that growing up where we did,
it's a different type of community.
yeah, we missed the, you know, little small town-ish places we could go to, because we would escape to like Wisconsin and go up to Kenosha and go, you know, different fairs and different apple pickings and pumpkins and stuff. So now being here, weather is the biggest thing for us. So all three of us, actually, Ezio loves the cooler weather. So we know it gets hot here. I don't want to get phone calls and texts saying, I do know it's hot Atlanta, and it is now. It's been 91 degrees, today, yes. Yeah. So there has been adjustments, but, you know, as life takes you for different reasons, it's becoming more and more the place to be. You know, we had friends that would say, and parents of those friends that would say, you know, be happy where you are. Never be content to be there. But if you're not happy where you are, you'll never be happy. And you are responsible for your happiness. I can do things that can make and assist happiness for Danelle, but she still has to choose. I'm in the mood for that ice cream, and I'm happy now. So same thing, you know, we always run on this whole, oh, she makes me happy, he makes me happy. Well, kind of, they're part of it, but you still have to make yourself happy. So you still have to find the things in the things to be happy. So with those things, those are the T.A.L.E.S, right? So here comes the dreaded.
Oh gosh.
I know.
I was telling Chris before this that I don't really like talking about myself. So this is interesting, but it's a good test just to have and see how it goes.
And collaboration. I mean, we're not here to throw anybody in the bus, to embarrass anybody, or have, you know, 5 minutes of silence on the radio here. But so T.A.L.E.S. So the first is T, right? So that's tests. Yeah. So what we'll be asking all of our guests are the same questions. We'll have, you know, talks like this and then get into it at some point, which is now for you. So tests, things in your life that have, and it could just be one. You don't have to list, you know, 20 here, but like, what is something that has challenged you on any level? What is something that maybe, you know, has gotten you to be like, okay, this is something I need to get through, and either I don't know how, or I know how and I just need to do it, or anything like that?
I think one of the biggest ones was definitely in 2010, when I almost lost you. That was a big one. Just to think of
physically, not marriage-wise.
Yes, sorry, physically.
We'll explain here real quick. I was internally bleeding and over half bled out in 2010, and rushed to the hospital. And yeah, I mean, short of any other details.
Yeah. That was a scary moment, definitely, to think of. Oh, okay, I have to make this decision. Are they going to continue with the procedure to know for sure, and then have them come back saying, you know what, we're having to take your husband into emergency surgery because he's literally bleeding to death, hemorrhaging. And that was a scary moment. It was like, wait, we're so young. Like, what is going on? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
And but it was something that I just forced into. I just got to stay positive and stay there and be there for you. And it was definitely a journey for both of us, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's
humbling journey for some.
Yeah, it's 6 years into marriage, and you're testing that whole, in sickness and health, and till almost death do you almost part. So, yeah, it's super sexy to say, hey, let's take a shower, because I can't clean myself at all. I couldn't move.
Needing
I was
help.
split from my
Needing
chest to my navel. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that. For better, for worse, in marriage and loving and doing what you need to do. And it was definitely a test and a way of like, how can I do this? And realizing, yeah, no, I love you so much that I'm there's no second thought about it. I'm going to do this to help you out and be there for you. And we got through it together.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big, probably one of the biggest tests in my life.
Yeah.
So
probably one of mine too. It's definitely.
Oh, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things.
Okay, so something kind of then fun. Right? T.A.L.E.S. T.A. Adventure.
Adventures.
What is a now we don't always have to lean on the standards here. Tests don't have to always be negative, and adventures don't always have to be positive. So whatever adventure you think, or something you did that you would call an adventure.
Oh.
I mean that may be actually the simplest way to put it.
And there's now there's so many, if I think of it that way. The big adventure of us moving to first the unknown of Florida for doing entertainment, going through that whole audition process, which I'm like, I'm not a dancer, I'm kind of a singer, let's go through this, and it being 11 hours long, and by the end they asked me, do you want to take this job? And I said yes before even I got an opportunity to talk to you. And obviously I was like, well, if I can't, I'll turn it down later on after our conversations. But you understanding that and having our conversation and really taking that adventure with me was really cool to be like, okay, we're leaving home, what we know of home, and our friends and family there, not knowing anybody in Florida, and going for the ride. And I think that was a really cool part of life and a cool adventure for sure.
And it was a big thing, to go through. It was the first, challenge, because that was 2006, and so it was the first challenge to, and the conversation before we moved to Florida for the job was a week long. Like, we had a conversation. It was a week long. We had this little townhouse in north of Chicago, and this little office, and we sat on the floor every night. I mean, we would do our things and go up and end up in the office. I don't know why. I think it's just the most comfortable, and just had the conversation, and it was up and back, and here's what I'm being offered, here's what I could do. Me asking questions, because I was ready to go to California. For me to act. I am an actor, and I always have been since I was 2 years old, but I was ready to do the whole let's pack up and go to California and LA. So
I think the biggest thing was when you're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I go, well, what makes you feel like this is the right choice for us? And you said this is the first time you've ever come home from something and been so proud of yourself and sure of yourself and what you did, and actually have you want to do something, like not just be like, maybe we'll do this. And I thought that was really, really sweet and cool that you believed in it that much. So
well, yeah, it's you gotta take the risks, and you gotta be willing to do both. It's almost never 50-50. I mean, unless we're splitting a pizza, and I'm still probably gonna eat more, but like and we have for those viewers here, Ezio just did a little drive by, so but there he is. You'll hear him huffing and puffing in the back. But okay, so lessons. Or a lesson, so that we don't have a 7-hour first episode. We're doing pretty good, but we're in 23 minutes, 24 minutes. So, but a lesson. So, is there something in life that you've learned?
That I've learned.
I mean, we've all learned, obviously, everything. But what is a lesson that you've learned that maybe stands out or is your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard one, because there's, once again, lots of lessons. But I think the biggest one for me, and I'm sure you would agree, is knowing that I'm going to be my biggest, I don't know what you want to call it, like a critic or mountain in the way of me being successful. And that I need to give myself grace in what I'm doing, and understand that things we're constantly a work in progress until the very last day that we're here on earth, or at least that's my own opinion. And I think that's the biggest lesson for me throughout everything, is that those times where I said, oh, I don't know if I can do this, oh, I don't know if I can do this, it really didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But when I gave myself some grace and just said, you know what, just keep working at it, kind of like what I'm doing right now, you tend to be more successful. You just got to give yourself time and not let yourself get in the way, or not let myself get in the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest lesson.
And that's important. I mean, and we all struggle with it. So it's everything you've talked about is not something brand new. And that's what I think is cool about like this and this outlet of meeting people and the episodes to come is going to be hearing it. Sometimes me just hearing myself. I think that's going to be a good catalyst for me for this podcast, is hearing myself as I'm recording things and then going back and editing and getting ready to publish and put it online is to hear myself say things. And the more you hear it, or maybe it's the first time, then you go, ooh, I actually believe that, or ooh, I need to change that, or that doesn't, maybe I can fix that. So I mean, there's lessons all around, and you just have to, like happiness, you do it yourself. Lessons you got to be willing to accept. You can have somebody teach you a lesson, and there's way more smarter people than me out in the world that will give us advice, but you have to be willing to accept it and apply it. I've told you, with whatever ventures you've gone, like, okay, yeah, I can see how that is this, but look at it this way, or maybe don't worry about this so much. And see what happens. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong. I'm not always right. But it's maybe just that different view, or somebody telling you and hearing it. And especially for you, I think it's not the husband telling you. When you hear the same thing the husband tells you from somebody else, you'll come home and be like, oh, so-and-so just said this. And I'll be like, I know you did.
I have a good friend that used to say, because I used to work with her all the time, Renee Parsons, when I would speak poorly of myself, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this. She'd just be like, don't talk about my friend that way. You can't. You wouldn't want me talking about another one of your friends that way, so don't talk about yourself that way. And I think that's the biggest thing, because it just gets in your head. So you just gotta allow yourself grace and just keep working at it, and know that everybody is successful in their own time.
Yeah.
So,
What about entertainment? The E in T.A.L.E.S.
Entertainment.
What is something for you that is entertaining? Could be things you like to watch. Could be things you like to do. What entertains you?
It can be all sorts of different mediums. Obviously, there's the baking and the making cookies and pies and that, but it's also artsy stuff. I've never gone to school for any of that stuff, but just the idea of creating things, being creative, of creating something that has multi-purposes. So maybe it's pretty and there's joy in just looking at it, but then there's another function to it. So eating it or making something just to be able to be functional in the house. I mean, sometimes, I just paint, but sometimes it's like, hey, here's a chair, I'm going to paint it, and you can also sit in it. It's pretty cool that way. So entertainment is definitely for me more the physical of actually creating something that can bring joy to others and brings joy to me as I'm doing it. So
As long as you don't stress out of like, oh, this is the wrong color, this is the wrong flavor.
True. Well, that happens when it's a specific order for somebody specific. Then it's like, oh gosh, okay, I got to make sure it's perfect.
Right.
But, when I'm just relaxed and free and just doing things for fun, I think that's probably my biggest part of entertainment.
And the easy answer, which you know, in my opinion, you missed, is the fact that your entertainment is the fact that you like to entertain.
Oh, that's true.
You
that's
know,
true.
that was an easy miss right there. You know, but it's whether you know
See?
prepping stuff for people to come over or entertaining in a performing aspect or that sort of thing. You know, that's
true. Oh,
but yeah, see,
we were
easier
talking.
than you thought.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. That the idea of like, oh, you're going to think of other things that you wish you would have said instead, and that's fine. But in the moment, that's what I was thinking of. So
yeah,
that's cool.
And last but not least, success. I mean, this is probably the hardest one. When I came up with the idea of T.A.L.E.S and having the balance of maybe some negative things with tests and challenges, things that maybe are difficult and obstacles, into fun adventures, into things that maybe you learn with the lessons, into a little bit more fun of entertainment. I just need to come up with something to E because T.A.L.E.S is just a cool thing. The successes is probably harder because, especially somebody maybe like you, and me, I don't take compliments well. It's not that I don't like them. I just don't. It's kind of like presents. I like getting presents, but I'd rather you just leave it on the counter and go to work, and I'll open it at my leisure and kind of do my thing. I'll say thank you. I mean, it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't appreciate it. I don't want to be watched opening it. I don't want to have the immediate reaction, and you're disappointed and I didn't, you know. So same thing with compliments and successes. I love the pats on the back, but people like me and you, success is hard to define because are we going off of likes? Are we going off of, you know, how many followers? Are we going off of how we feel? Which to me, that's what I've come to learn is that's the biggest thing. So what is a success, big or small, that you feel is a success, and whatever your definition of success is, it can be traditionally. My hope would be that it's not a traditional like, oh, money, celebrity,
like a
status.
thing or,
It can be, but maybe something a little bit more of like that made you. You talked about your audition.
Like you said, this one's the definition of it is different for I think a lot of people, you know, and I think the way I think of it is if I have been able to help somebody in the past or whatever, then I've been successful. So that's a big thing for me. So after leaving Disney, I started getting lots of messages from a lot of different people that I've had the opportunity to work with and train with. And I'm getting them now too of people that have just said, thank you for helping me do this or realizing this or helping me in my journey of finding out who I am. And so just that idea of that I've been able to help people in some way, shape, or form is probably what's been the most thing that I consider to be successful.
Now, do you find yourself as a person that you got to learn something about, even your wife, but do you find yourself finding that success because those people have told you? Is there something in life that is maybe not hinged on somebody's telling you like because of you? Like for me, so you know, it's fair, and I don't know if I'll do a whole episode on just me talking and doing my T.A.L.E.S stuff, but my success thing I think is getting married and definitely holding, and that's why I'm leaning and keep saying, you know, 19 years and 2040 together, you know, all that sort of stuff, is because I grew up the nerd. I grew up the non-girlfriend. I was such a nice guy, you know, I was the friend. And so I only had a handful of girlfriends, a couple, not even a handful, prior to you. And so I think it's such a big achievement for me to be married, because I always saw myself, I think, being married, but never believed it would happen. It was always like that dream, but it wouldn't happen because I don't know who I would find. And then especially, it's kind of like a part B, is being married longer, unfortunately, but taking a bad situation and looking at it differently, being married longer than my parents were.
Oh.
So when we hit 18 years, that was longer than my parents were married. So that was a success to me. It wasn't a goal all along. It's not like every day it was like, okay, another day down, another year down, I'm going to beat my parents. It was just a realization, I think, as our anniversary came that year, where I was like, holy cow, I don't think, okay. And then I went through it, and it was just an achievement. And it doesn't mean I'm better than them. It doesn't mean it was just, situations are different, and they are what they are, but it was a success and continues to be a success for me because, I don't know. So that's like an internal, that's what I mean by internal.
Yeah, I think sometimes I do have those successes too. I think anything that scares me and I still end up doing it, whatever the outcome may be, just the idea that I went through with it, even though it scared me, like going to China for a couple months and doing the thing and not knowing the language and all that type of stuff. I think that was a success for me just because I was out of my comfort zone and did something that I never ever thought I would do. So, yeah, I can see that. And of course, our marriage is a success.
Oh, yeah. Bump set, she spikes it. Yeah. But no, I think, no, but thank you. I mean, we're knocking things over.
Yeah, I may have all my other stuff.
Oh yeah, we'll see what we can do in editing, but this is a learning process. So, but I think these things are fun, the raw stuff. I mean, again, we got a video going, and we'll probably put that YouTube. We'll see how it is and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, first and foremost, thank you.
Of course,
I mean,
thank you.
Just because you're my wife doesn't mean you had to do this. But it's a good setup and test and thing. And I know people miss you. I know whether it's visually, if you're going to see the video, or if you're going to just listen to it to hear your voice. It's that, again, communication thing. So, a text and stuff is great, but a phone call. Yes, Paul Levan, when you listen to this, I'm talking about you.
Yes, Paul, thank you.
To hear voices, it is different. So, I'm sure you'll be back. Multiple times. We'll have different episodes and have you either pop in with a guest or just as you, or different things. We'll see. And to everybody else, we'll close out here with definitely the whole. I'm going to come up with some different way to do it with the whole, hey, like, follow, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. We do want that, but even as important, we want ideas. Keep them coming in. I have had people. This is honest truth. I've had people offer and want to be on the show, and it's not even out yet. This is the first episode, and submit ideas. So that's not like some bait and switch catch thing. I have had people say, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Can you do an episode on this? So everybody out there who listens to this, Kurzology, as you see it on the podcast that you're listening to right now, or on the video, check out the logo, kurzology@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you think. Was this episode too short? Was this episode too long? Do you want Danelle to come back? Do you want Danelle never to come back? Do you want her to take over the whole show? Let us know. All the comments, all the Facebooks, you can find Kurzology, Kurzology, on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube. So thanks for listening. Thanks for taking your time. Your time is valuable to us, and I know this was an awesome, 37 and a half minutes. And I think it's gonna be good. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much. We'll see what happens, and thanks for listening. Do all the things, communicate, let us know, and we'll catch you next time. Now what happens? See, video keeps going. This is where the backstage stuff comes. We'll see. I've never done that. Okay. Well, it's there. We're gonna make sure save, because
Yes.
Oh Lord, this will create a new episode. We're learning.
You get an opportunity to.
Yeah, I don't know. This will be fun. This may take a minute, so I'm gonna stop the video. But thanks, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.